From the creepy swamps deep in the heart of Cajun country, I welcome you to Fave Five From Fans, the podcast where I, Jamie Ray, your humble host, invite a friend of mine, and my daughter Lily, to create a list of 5 of their favorite things that we have a shared interest in, be it movies, books, TVs, toys, or really whatever. Our own unique Venn diagram of topics near and dear to our hearts. We then sit down across from each other to compare and contrast, dissect and disseminate our choices for you, the listening audience. We'll start off with honorable mentions, those selections that didn't quite make the Fave 5, for good reasons or bad. And then we'll take turns unveiling our choices backwards from 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. You'll hear us discussing everything from alien invasions to zombie attacks, Rom the Space Knight to Psych, Edgar Allan Poe to Stephen King, both literature and film adaptations. All that's left is for you to decide who's right, who's wrong, and will we still be friends after all this? I can't wait to get started, so please sit back, strap in, and get ready for this episode of Fave Five From Fans. Hello, welcome! Once again, we come to you from the Plastic Microphone Studios, deep in the kerfunkel of COVID-19.
Well, I think we're actually kind of seeing the light at the end of the tunnel a little bit.
You think?
It's a train. It's a train. I'm going to call it.
Well, we are practicing social distancing. We're about 6 feet apart from each other.
Absolutely.
Even though we've just sat down and had a yummy meal. Some of us had curry. Some of us had a Caesar salad. And one of us had
a Hot Pocket. It was delicious, by the way, if you wanted to know.
It was a Hot Pocket. So, today's episode is going to be a really fun one that you're going to have to really pay attention to so you don't miss the details. Yeah. We're talking about the USA series called Psych. Wonderful show. Sean and Gus, not Super Gus, but Sean and Gus run a detective agency called Psych based upon Sean's unique and keen ability to notice details that no one else does and put those together in such a way that it seems like he has psychic powers.
Yeah.
But he doesn't. And as the show goes on, other people kind of start to figure it out. But I mean, really, like immigrants, they get the job done. So, you like that Hamilton reference?
That was pretty good.
Thank you. So, today to do this, I have brought in a returning guest, Jennifer Chang. Welcome once again to the Microphone Studios.
Thank you for having me. Although, in this case, my name should be Rosanna Dana, because you've heard it both ways.
And also, to give us colorful commentary, will be my daughter, Lily Ray.
Hello.
Hey, boo.
Hey. And also Pickles. She seems very excited.
Yes, you may hear Pickles outside the door. I think Mom might have gotten her, but I don't know. We'll see. That's okay. So, for this episode, Jennifer and I both have our lists. And Lily will be giving us her opinions, or maybe some little nuggets of information that maybe we don't know along the way. So she's just going to jump in whenever she wants. Before we get started, is there anything you want to talk about, like about the show first? Say, or are we ready to just get right into it?
Before we jump in, I'd like to point out that I think we figured this out before we even watched Psych, that there is a pineapple in every episode of Psych.
Every single one.
That's true.
I think I remember seeing a commercial about it, and in every little clip that they had, someone was holding a pineapple, or there was a pineapple, and they were like, "Look for the pineapples in Psych." Yep. And then we were like, "Hey, that show looks pretty cool,"
That's right. And then we started watching it. And the cool thing about too is they also Gus will say, "Come on, Sean," a lot.
Yeah, he says, he's always saying, come on, son, or something like that. But that's a very good description, Lily, of Psych as a whole. It's a show full of Easter eggs, especially if you're a fan of pop culture around the 80s, maybe early 90s, and things like that. There's something for everybody, and you add some great sarcasm and some great observation, and it makes for a good time.
And one of the things I love so much about the show is that they pretty much give you all the clues, just like Sean sees them. They're out there in front of you. It's not like at the sudden end of the episode, 5 minutes before the credits roll, they bring a guy in and, he was the killer. No, if you're watching it, you can figure it out. And they manage to add a certain layer of humor to it. And sometimes a little bit of danger. You don't know necessarily.
Danger.
And there's some sadness in it, too.
Yeah.
But it's a great show, and we watched it pretty much all the way through, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I think so. I think we even watched, the movie and the musical.
And now there's a new movie that's going to be coming out, if it's not already out.
It is out on NBC's streaming platform.
Oh, okay. The Peacock! Did you watch it yet?
I did.
Oh, well, what did you think?
Same thing I think about all the Psych movies. It's brilliant as a 1-hour serial. Something gets lost in translation when it goes for the hour and a half, 2-hour movie.
Which is weird because some of those, arcs were really good.
Oh, yeah, the whole yin and yang series that goes throughout the latter seasons is absolutely brilliant.
Yeah.
But it almost felt like in the movies they were trying to outdo themselves, and it's like, no, you're already awesome.
Yeah.
You can't be double awesome. It's not real.
Awesome. Well, I think, if I'm not mistaken, you have 2 honorable mentions that you want to talk about.
Yes.
Okay, and I also have 2.
Okay, cool.
So, and Lily, like I said, anytime, if we're forgetting something, if you want to illuminate it, you just jump in and let us know.
Okie dokie.
All right. Jennifer, when we get started, what's your honorable mention number 2?
Okay. Well, first of all, I've got to say, I got into Psych. I got late to the party. You know, I came in about, 2013, and it was at the tail end of the series. I had been watching The Mentalist.
Oh, yeah.
You know, which is the more serious version of Psych. Also came out 2 years after Psych, and if you watch the Psych episodes, they make a few comments about, that show.
Oh,
yeah. Which is pretty hilarious. But my honorable mention, my first honorable mention, comes from season 3, which I maintain is the best season out of all of them. It has great stories throughout, but oddly enough, none of them made my top 5.
What?
What can I say? They were just great across the board, but they weren't super great.
They were really good. I had a lot of season 3s for mine. Actually, I kind of liked 4 as well.
Yeah. Well, if you follow typical serial TV show growth, everyone says by season 3 they're hitting their stride.
Next Generation.
Next Generation.
Example.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Office. The best was 4.
Yeah.
Yep. I mean, you can name any show that's lasted 5 years or more. Season 3 is when it really hits its stride. And for Psych, it's no different. And I start off with episode number 2, season 3, which was Murder, Anyone, Bueller. A great homage to, of course, Ferris Bueller, which is where Sean and Gus go back to their high school reunion.
Right.
And, so Sean, who is always, you can tell he was the class clown. You get to meet some of his classmates, and the one that got away, I say in quotation marks that you can't see, but he's got a body, right? And you can't find the body, but so maybe he doesn't have a body.
Ain't got no body.
And you've got Carlton Lassiter, who is just wonderful.
Yeah.
I mean, just a wonderful character. Honestly, all of them are. It's one of those few series where everyone works and was cast just brilliantly. Is there on the date from hell, with a woman who keeps calling him Corey.
Where's my punch, Corey?
Yeah, where's her punch, Corey?
Which may or may not be some sort of a flashback to the 2 Coreys of the 80s. And,
oh, yeah, that's true.
And so, you go through the usual Sean Spencer thing, but you get to see him in his teenage environment. And I thought that was fascinating, where you had the popular kids, you had the nerds, and you got to see those interactions that was a little bit Breakfast Club, a little bit teen angst and growing up and everything like that. And, oh, by the way, he gets to solve a murder and right or wrong from 15, 20 years earlier. So
Right.
It was a great episode. I truly enjoyed it. I'm trying not to give spoilers away.
Yeah.
But
I remember getting a lot of not Friday 13th, Nightmare on Elm Street feelings off of that episode.
Like, when I'm just imagining the episode, for some reason, that image of, like, him kind of dragging the girl in the back keeps popping up. And I know that probably didn't happen in the episode, but that keeps coming in my head.
It's funny how our mind makes those connections.
Oh, yes. Well, and the whole series of Psych makes it easy because, again, it's all those Easter eggs of things that we've seen before. And it's all set up almost with a reverence for them. Yeah. So that we can enjoy it, and you're like, oh wait, I've heard it both ways, except in this case, we've seen it both ways.
Mm-hmm. You are right. Well, that's a good one. I remember that one. So what's your other honorable mention?
You're not going to give up one of your honorable mentions?
No, you can do your two, and then I'll do my two.
Okay, well, my other honorable mention, also from season 3, my affinity for horror movies.
Uh-huh.
Mm-hmm. Gotta love the Nightmare on Elm Streets and the Friday the 13th, and during the 80s, nothing was bloodier or badder, really, when you get right down to it. So, straight up from season 3, episode 15, Tuesday the 17th. I mean, this was a great episode, just also from the guest stars. So, basically, Sean and Gus go back to their childhood camp. The big guest star in this one is Mackenzie Astin. For those of you who know from the 80s, Garbage Pail Kids movie, also Facts of Life. And his dad, of course, is the original Gomez Addams, John Astin. And they go back there trying to investigate something that's going on. Things are not as it seems. Somebody gets murdered. And another guest star you'll recognize is, I think his name is Eldon Henson. He was one of the kids from Mighty Ducks.
Oh.
So you see a lot of people you recognize, and there's all kinds of Easter eggs in there. I mean, one of the main characters, Mackenzie Astin, plays Jason Cunningham, which is actually an homage to Jason, of course, the serial killer, but also the last name of the director was Cunningham.
Sean Cunningham, exactly.
So they put him together. I mean,
I thought that was great.
It was well done. And then, of course, it is a true Friday the 13th spoof because if it's Tuesday the 17th, the Friday before is Friday the 13th.
Yeah.
And so you've got the cabin.
Very clever.
Oh, yeah. You've got bloody clothes. You've got laughing back and forth. You've got Sean calling Juliet for help because he's not sure, and then realizing things are not what they seem. And then, of course, everything goes back and Sean and Guster have to save the day. It's so well done. There's so many little Easter eggs for horror movie fans. It doesn't get better than that.
Yeah.
That was a great one, and they did a good job of making a straight homage. When you watched it, you were like, "Oh yeah, they're pretty much at Camp Crystal Lake,"
Oh, absolutely, and that was actually the first episode that James Roday Rodriguez directed himself.
Oh, cool!
Any dead snakes in there?
I'm sure there were, but we didn't see them.
Oh, okay.
Well, those are two good ones. I have to be honest with you. I thought one of your honorable mentions was going to be the entire season 3.
So close.
I know.
It was right there, but then I was like, no, I feel like I can't go that far.
Well, my two honorable mentions are... Well, the first one is also, of course, how much I love horror. And I remember watching this episode and just really loving it. But it's far down into the series. I'm actually talking about season 8.
I know which one you're talking about.
Episode 9, Nightmare on State Street. I mean, it's got zombies. It's got people dying. It's got the guy from Tears for Fears.
Kurt Smith.
Kurt Smith? Guster, what a surprise. You caught me listening to my own music. How utterly Rob Thomas of me.
What are you doing here?
Had a hankering for a microwavable bunhuelo. You know they're so fun to eat and so fun to say.
Kurt Smith dying.
Kurt Smith is a zombie.
Exactly. And then it's got Bruce Campbell. I mean,
and his chin. His chin had a second cameo.
You're right. He was awesome. I loved this episode because there were so many little drops through it about the horror films. Because at one point, when the closing credits are going, you can hear the song "They're Coming to Get You, Barbara."
Yep.
From the band No More Kings. There's a guy who plays Dean. I think it's Dean Cameron. Mm-hmm. He plays Chainsaw, and he was in the Summer School movie. And I don't know if you watched The West Wing.
Yes, okay. I've seen parts of it. Yeah.
So did you catch the part in this episode where when Gus is at his mom's house and I think when he wakes up, there's a picture of Martin Sheen on the wall, and he calls him Papa.
Yes.
Which is a direct throwback to him playing the president back when they were on West Wing. But I loved all of this, and especially I loved Bruce Campbell's name, which was Dr. Ashford N. Simpson, which was a straight up throwback to Ashford and Simpson.
Yep.
It was great.
That's actually one of the lowest rated Psych episodes as far as fan ratings.
Really?
If you watch it, it's basically one giant dream sequence.
It is.
Which I enjoyed because it was so different. And it also, there's a lot of foretelling, with Guster having all these dreams about his friend leaving him. They were setting up for the end of the series, even before we knew it was the end of the series, I think. Right. And it was very, very well done with the whole, the janitor wearing the clothes and turning around and they're both in the gym, and they're like, nope. Yeah. And they're just out the door. And I'm like, you know what? I am with you. If I would have been in a dark gym and seen somebody like that, I would have been out the side door as fast as all get out.
Yeah, and it's got a great closer with the Evil Dead homage. He was just good. So one thing I am going to try to do for every episode is give you a pineapple alert.
I thought you were going to say Gus's code name.
Nope, I didn't do that. But what I did do is try to go through every episode and figure out where the pineapple was. And in this episode, there are actually 2 pineapples on the kitchen counter of that spooky house that Gus goes into after he gets out of the cable van. So next time you watch it, you got to look for that. And so my other honorable mention, the pineapple utensils are holders on a tiki bar. So they're kind of shaped, I guess wooden, what would you say, and you put the stuff in
the bamboo. You're talking about the bamboo holders? Or?
Yeah, exactly. Okay. So you've got to watch for that when you're watching Season 5, Episode 14, The Polarizing Express.
That was a good one.
I did. I enjoyed it. Also directed, by James Roday. Aired December 15th, 2010. He actually co-wrote that episode.
Wow, okay.
Yeah.
I know, that I'm not telling the truth. I know, they just don't have any proof. Embrace the deception, learn how to bend your worst inhibitions, then psych you out in the end.
So basically, Sean makes a mistake, and which he doesn't do that often. And it causes...
And he certainly doesn't admit that.
No, he doesn't. And he ends up getting a crime lord, gets off on a trial, and he gets suspended, and his father gets fired from the... And it's just, everything's bad. And then so he has a series of dreams that help him go back and figure out, and he finds a new way to go back. And so it's not double jeopardy, but he's able to come back and let the crime lord pick him up, and they go back to jail with him. And he basically redeems himself. So even though the episode's called The Polarizing Express, which is based on that famous Christmas, it's really kind of more like It's a Wonderful Life story.
Ish.
Ish. Yeah, ish. Thank
ish.
You. And there's some really cool. And then Tony Cox is the guy who was playing the... I don't know what you call it, the angel.
He's really the bad Santa elf that just comes shows up.
And he's hilarious.
Fantastic.
Oh, I'm dreaming. I get it. Well, in that case, you want a hot tub with Paula Patton?
Yes. No. Look, you don't get it. You're supposed to go on a journey of self-discovery, you boob. Now let's do this, because you got me wearing a dance belt up in here, son.
Oh, sorry about that.
Again, great casting. Even all the guest stars on all these episodes are so well done because they mesh just so well with the original characters.
They do. They really do. All right. Well, we've gotten those out of the way. I think it's time for us to start taking them down. Give us your number 5, T-Jen.
Number 5, Lights, Camera, Homicidio. I did fail high school Spanish, so if I butchered that, and I'm pretty sure I did. That's season 2, episode 13, where Sean goes undercover and actually becomes an actor briefly on a Spanish telenovela. And I have a very funny story about that, a personal story. I did fail high school Spanish, and as punishment, my parents made me watch Univision one summer.
Oh, that's awesome.
And I always watched the soap opera Tres Generaciones, and I loved it, and it was great until my mother came home and watched and saw some of the adult themes on Tres Generaciones, and next thing you know, I had cable, so it kind of worked out.
Yeah.
But I mean,
can see Jackie walk in and what?
that's on what? But there's all kinds of Easter eggs. I mean, the overacting by James Rodriguez.
Wait a minute. Eric, get in here. Do you know what she's watching?
They didn't speak Spanish either, so I think I was okay.
I'm sorry. Please continue.
But anyway, the overacting was great.
Pero debemos irnos pronto si queremos llegar a tiempo al evento de Caridad de Serena.
Dimmi, Jack. Mi veo gorda en ese traje de fiesta.
Eres como una nectarina dulce, envuelta en terreta.
I didn't write that.
The hair, oh my gosh,
God.
his
The
helmet
chest.
hair. Oh yeah, you know, the lip curling up and the looking at the camera. I mean, it was fantastic. That is classic, perfect overacting for comedic effect. It was brilliant. I mean, and there's all kinds of Easter eggs. So if you look deeply in this episode, like if you look at the names on the backs of the chairs, it's actually the names of the assistant directors for the show.
Oh,
for
wow.
Psych.
Okay.
You know, one of the lady who's going around delivering all the craft services, the food, her name, if I remember correctly, is Kelly. That was the name of their craft services director and stuff like that.
That's awesome.
It was kind of like a thank you to the cast and everything like that. And it was just, I laughed through the whole episode, you know, and then of course, you know, you find out who did it and everything. And it was just really, really, really well done.
Yes,
you know,
I
loved
have to agree. I have to agree. That was a great one. You remember that one, huh?
Yeah, if I remember correctly, I think you guessed the killer like the first time they popped up on screen. You were like, they killed the person.
That's kind of an annoying thing I think I must do around here because we watch a lot of Criminal Minds
And then we watched Psych.
and I'll try to do that, you know, because I do enjoy it.
Well, sure, you want to be right.
Yeah, well, there's that, you know. Which, you know, again, we all know my story about M. Night Shyamalan's The Village, which I will not tell here, but there's a reason why I'll never watch that movie again. But, well, thank you for remembering that, Boo. I appreciate that. Yeah. So, my number 5.
Numero cuatro?
Quattro.
No, cinco. Cuatro is 4.
Dos, tres,
Ladies
cuatro,
and gentlemen,
cinco.
I
See?
have failed high school Spanish.
I was about to say, wait.
So, this was a really, really fun episode because I enjoy time travel and time loops and stuff like that. And we all know Tina hates that stuff, but I love it. So, my number 5 has got to be Last Night Gus from season 6, episode 2. Also written and directed by Andy Berman, a name who I saw over and over again. So, really great episode. So, they basically, after a night out at the bars and partying, Sean, Gus, Lassiter, and Woody all wake up. And Woody, by the way, has got to be my favorite supporting character. Yeah, he just awesome. The coroner. So they all wake up one morning in the psych office, and they can't figure out anything. What happened, you know? And Gus's car has been dented. Sean's wearing stuff that's not his. Woody has what looks like cocaine on his face.
Let's just say he's got white powder on his face.
Lassiter has a black eye, and his gun is missing some bullets.
And his car's missing. He has no idea where his car is.
Harry wakes up in a
in a very seedy hotel,
very seedy, with no pants, you know. So they have to kind of work their way backward, a la Memento, basically, to figure out what happened.
What the hell happened last night?
Are those doors shut?
Yeah?
Okay. I think I'm gonna turn myself in.
What, for spooning with Woody?
We did nothing wrong.
And there are some hilarious scenes in it. When they end up at the donut shop and they're like taking pictures of it, it just, I mean, I loved it. Supposedly, based on the USA Network's Psych All Night, which I guess they used to do the little mini marathon stuff.
Right.
This was Timothy Ombudsman's favorite episode. And I could tell because it looked like it was a lot of fun.
Well, how do you have a straight-laced cop, a psychic who isn't psychic but just, has a tremendous memory and power of observation, a pharmaceutical rep, which could explain the white powder, and a really crazy coroner
He's so
who
crazy.
has spent too much time around the formaldehyde. How did these individuals work together to figure out what happened?
I know. It's crazy. It's crazy. And it was kind of cool, too, if you noticed, there's that one scene where they had Little Green Bag, which, like, straight out of Reservoir Dogs. And they're, like, walking slow and playing the music and stuff, and they pulled that straight out. Another thing about this episode is when Sean mentions glazedforlife.com. I think it's when they're talking about the donuts again. I don't know why I keep going back to the donuts.
They're tasty. They're delicious.
So tasty. That was actually a website at the time. You could actually go to it, and it had all that stuff like it was a real place.
Wow, okay.
Yeah. So, and, of course, pineapple alert. The shot glasses at the bar have small pineapples on them. And the glasses in Gus's apartment has pineapples on them, too.
Wow.
But you're missing one key important cameo in that episode.
Leroy Jenkins?
Yes!
Yeah!
Yes! How does World of Warcraft end up in Psych? Leroy Jenkins!
So, expound on that a little bit.
Well, basically, Leroy Jenkins it's a viral thing where basically this guy went in screaming his name in the game World of Warcraft, and consequently, him and all of his players who were playing with him died because he did so prematurely.
Mm-hmm.
So it was a joke to name the bad guy Leroy Jenkins and to have Sean say, Leroy Jenkins!
That always reminds me of the fluffy white dog in the books by Patricia Cornwell. Or
Yes.
is it? Yeah, it is Patricia Cornwell?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes,
yeah,
she has
yes.
written about those. The ones that the people say when they're driving and they...
Single car accidents.
Yes,
Yeah.
it was a fluffy white dog.
Did you like that episode?
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought it was very fun. I know. And then you finally figure out what all the white powder is, too.
Yes, and for the kids out there, it was not cocaine.
No, it was crack. But, all right, well, T-Jen, why don't you give us your number 4?
My number 4...
That's Quattro, by the way.
Yes, thank you, yeah. Well, like I said, I not so proudly say I did fail high school Spanish. But my number 4 is very appropriate in the era of everyone loving Cobra Kai in quarantine. It is Season 5, Episode 13, We'd Like to Thank the Academy. The arrival of Nick Conforth, played by Ralph Macchio.
Yes.
Where Guster and Sean are being punished, so they're sent to the academy.
Mm-hmm.
And their trainer is the Karate Kid himself.
Karate Kid himself.
Who, unlike the Karate Kid, does not perform well under pressure. And they're having to deal with a string of robberies and gambling and all kinds of stuff going on in this particular episode, while Sean keeps losing his equipment, which is going to cause problems in the budget office of the department. Yeah. And you have a very colorful gangster at the end that makes for a really great shootout where Nick Conforth, who is Ralph Macchio's character, gets redemption and a nice little rivalry between him and Lassiter that kind of mirrors Johnny and Daniel from Karate Kid. It was so many great little Easter eggs throughout this whole thing.
Yeah,
wonderful episode.
And I love the sweatsuits throughout the whole thing. I mean, it's like, okay, you could gotta wear some other clothes.
Look, I got to tell you, one of my favorite parts is where Dule Hill, who plays Burton Guster, tries to mimic firearm shots, a la Police Academy
Right.
from the 80s. And the first couple of times he does it, he does horribly. I mean, like, bad. And, and even Sean will turn around and say, Gus, what was that? And everybody will laugh. He's like, what, Sean? I was trying to make it sound like, whatever. Well, you get to this climactic moment. They're in the grocery store. There's a shootout, and Sean says to Gus, I just need a diversion. And he... a spot on, it sounds like an AK-47 or some other heavy firearm that makes Sean Spencer almost drop his gun and hit the deck because he was not expecting it. And he's like, I did it.
Dude, what was that? It's me!
Are you kidding me? You've achieved pitch-perfect AK-47 mouth action.
I know! I've been practicing!
Air bump.
And I was like, wow, I got the Karate Kid and Police Academy in one episode? That's pretty awesome.
Your 80s level is getting very high there.
And and you can't forget the Top Gun reference where Juliet and him are dating by this time, and she goes and gets a replica of the Kelly McGillis jacket to wear.
Mm-hmm.
That gets a thumbs up.
A woman would do anything for her man.
Yep. How about you, Jamie?
Well, my number 4 is a really great episode. And you know how I know it's a really great episode?
Because you like it.
Because you like it.
Uh-oh.
My number 4 is also Tuesday the 17th. But you knew it had to be on this list.
It had to be.
Oh my God, that was such a great episode. So I know we've talked about it a little bit already. So there's a few things that we didn't touch on. In a total nod to Friday the 13th, this episode actually aired on a Friday the 13th in 2009.
It's amazing.
I know that they could plan that, you know? It's awesome. So Jason, the Mackenzie Aston character, at one point he mentions reading about Sean and Gus in the newspaper, and it was when they uncovered the dinosaur and when they rescued the mummy.
Yep.
Which was just amazing nods to, flashback to what you've done there before. Camp Tiki Hama's name is supposed to be a reference to Friday the 13th. It's Camp Tiki Ha.
Oh, that's awesome.
I know, right?
That's well done. Okay.
I don't even know
Is that
I
why
catch
you were
that.
whispering it when she...
What? No, I wouldn't have figured that out that early.
Good job,
But
Lily.
she hadn't seen the Friday the 13th yet, so,
Yeah.
By the way, we finished Friday the 13th, and we started into Friday, so part 2.
Nice.
Yeah, we'll maybe go through 3, and then I think we might stop, but we'll see. And Annie's fridge in this episode is actually the same fridge from Shaun and Gus of the Dead.
Yep.
Which, you have to be a fan to know that. And the pineapple alert in the flashback to Gus's piñata, it's a pineapple. And the kid who wore a jacket all week standing in front of the teepee, he's holding a picture of a woman holding a pineapple. And then at the very end in the staff room, there's a pineapple there when they're going around trying to open everything up and see it, So pineapples aplenty.
Yes. When one pineapple won't do, here's 4 or 5 in this episode.
4 or 5 more. Oh, awesome. Okay, so eins, zwei, numero drei.
Is that German?
That might have been German, and I probably should know it. But are we going to
Eric's
say...
gonna tan your high.
Yeah, are we going to say tres? Can we just go with tres?
Sure, we can do tres.
Numero tres. No, number 3 for me, Season 8, Episode 9, Nightmare on State Street. I love that. I love that episode because it was quirky, because it was unusual. You know how much I love zombies. So the moment zombies appeared, it was all over. I was going to love that episode. But the best part was when Kurt Smith from Tears for Fears pulls up in his little sports car, and it's a dream, okay? And he's playing, his own music, and he's like, "Oh, you caught me listening to my own music. How very Rob Thomas of me," and I about fell out, because it was hilarious, But then there's this great scene where he's turned into a zombie, and, of course, Guster is screaming like a little girl. He is such a great actor to come up with that high-pitched scream that, honestly, I kept laughing through it, and I felt bad, because I'm sitting there thinking, if this was an individual who was truly terrified, I would feel sad, but instead I'm just laughing. And then all of a sudden, Kurt Smith, as a zombie, starts singing "Shout" on his windshield, shout, let it out, And I mean, that was the start of the episode. He's like, all the rest was gravy, Bruce Campbell playing a probably less than above board sleep doctor, let's say, or guru.
Huge fly swatter.
Oh, I know. That kept coming out of nowhere.
I know.
I was like, that doesn't come out of any dream dictionaries that I've seen. But okay, whatever. We'll go with that. But it was really well done. But then there was another Cobra Kai reference. Billy Zabka is in it. Okay. He was Coach D-Bag.
Yes. They liked him some Karate Kid up in here, huh?
You know, what can I say? And, you know, of course, so when he becomes a zombie and attacks everybody in the corners. Look, this episode was not a typical Psych in that it psyched us out as Psych fans. Yeah. And so that's how it ended up as my number 3. And I don't understand why it is the lowest rated amongst fans, other than it definitely was not a typical Psych episode. And
that could be it. But because, you know, maybe most of those people don't like the horror. And this one had horror heaped on horror. I mean, you know, just especially at the end. You know, that was just straight out of The Evil Dead. It was great. It was great. Wow. Well, awesome. Okay. Well, then I guess I will give you my numero 3.
Still sounded better than anything I've said.
And I'm pretty sure that we might have an overlap on this one. But I don't know. It's going to get harder and harder now with the last 3. Mm-hmm. So my number 3 is from season 7.
Okay.
Episode 5. Mm-hmm. 100 Clues.
Oh, yeah.
So if anybody knows, I love the movie Clue. Absolutely love it. And so this episode, which was the 100th episode of the show, has not 1, not 2, but 3 stars from Clue in the episode, in the Martin Mull, Leslie Ann Warren, and Christopher Lloyd, and it is a straight out pull of the movie Clue. And so basically, there was a rocker who was serving jail time for manslaughter, and he finally gets out and he has a party, or a dinner party, and he invites people. Sean and Juliet are supposed to be going. Once again, in true Sean form, he ends up taking Gus instead because she's got to work. And everyone's sitting around the table, and it's just, I mean, man, I felt like it was straight out of the movie. It was so cool, you know? And then one by one, just like in the movie, they start dying off. And I love the fact that they brought Garrett Morris in to play the butler, because he's like one of my all-time favorites Saturday Night Live people. Did a great job, and then it gets to the end as more and more bodies are piling up until it, finally get to the end, and you see who the actual killer was. And this was a perfect example of, if you watched the episode and paid attention, you had a good chance of figuring out who it was. It also takes nods from Murder by Death, which I've seen before, and Spinal Tap, which
everyone's seen.
Everyone's seen.
Yeah.
I haven't seen it.
I know. We're going to fix that. You turn it up to 11 and break the knob off.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And at the end, it had a dedication to Madeline Kahn, which was really nice and heart-touching. And I believe Martin Mull's character was named Kahn or something like that. Mm-hmm. It's kind of a nod to her. So you remember at the very beginning, though, there was the girl who came up and gave the singing telegram.
Yeah.
To give them. I totally forgot that's kind of how they did the. Remember that someone would come up at the end of Clue and they shot her.
Da-da-da-da-da. I am your singing telegram.
You remember that in Clue?
So, I have never seen Clue.
Oh.
I love this episode on its own, and I kind of suspected some of the homages and things like that, but I have never seen Clue.
Oh, wow. Well, you need to fix that.
That is probably why it didn't end up in my top 5. I just enjoyed it for what it was.
Yeah. So, Christopher Lloyd, and that is true, his character is named Martin Kahn, so I guess after Madeline Kahn. At one point, he actually goes, "Great Scott!" Right from Back to the Future. It's just awesome. And so Pineapple, the screaming doorbell at the mansion at the very beginning is a small pineapple. And then there's also a pineapple in the main title like where their playing cards were coming out, like they looked like Uno cards or whatever, next to James Roday. Next to his picture. And I love the fact that, and we've talked about this in several episodes, so like when they do the Christmas episode, or if I'm not mistaken, when they did the episode where they were at the Spanish soap opera, they change up the song at the very beginning.
Yes, they did that with the Bollywood episode. Right. They did it with a Halloween one, I think. The neat thing about that is they'll have them sing the whole song. The actual song, it's an actual song written by Steve Franks, who's the showrunner, and he has a band called the Friendly Indians. They're the ones that sing it. But when they sing these for these other ones, you know, they have them sing the entire song, so you can tell that it's a little bit longer than. It's cool. Normally. I love it.
It's so neat how they do it too. When we were watching it, we were always looking out for the. Do you remember what was your favorite alternate beginning?
I can't think of one right now.
No, I think you liked the one. Wasn't the when they had? It wasn't Boyz II Men, or maybe it was Boyz II Men. Who was the singing group?
It was Boyz II Men.
Okay, it was.
His a cappella group, Guster's a cappella group.
So I think in one of those episodes they had one at the beginning. I think that's right. Anyway.
That seems very fun.
Yeah, it was. It was a lot of fun. So, okay, well, that was a great one.
That was great. And you know what's funny about it, to me, is that with that episode, what I took from it was I was relating everything to Sherlock.
Oh,
you know, where Spencer was Sherlock, Watson was Guster, you know, and each of the characters had their place, you know, with maybe Lassiter being, you know, Sherlock's brother.
Mycroft.
So, you know, that's kind of how I internalized all that, having never seen Clue, but now I think I'm going to have to go watch Clue.
Okay, and so here's the thing. I think I have it somewhere, and if I do, I'll let you borrow it. So it came out in 1985, I think. And so this was really cool. So you could go and see it. And it was based on the game, the board game. So you could go and see it at the theaters. And at the end of the movie, Colonel Mustard killed such and such with such and such. And then if you went to a movie theater 3 towns over and you watched that movie again, they would have another ending.
Really?
Yes. Yeah. They had at least 3 endings.
That's fantastic.
Or maybe they have 1 plus 3, so there was like 4. So yeah, and every time the killer was different, there was a whole nother reason about why that person was killed and all this stuff. And
very well done.
It really was. So if you get the DVD, I have it, like I said, I think I have it somewhere, maybe not in here, but it has, so you can watch the whole thing, and then you can watch all of the alternate endings. And Tim Curry gives an amazing performance.
But it was definitely the Butler.
Yes.
The Butler was the true
Butler
killer.
Always does it.
That's wonderful.
And he is the butler at one point. So, and spoiler, he does do it at one point. So knowing that, it's going to be cool for you to think as you're watching it, going, okay, so what's the ending that I'm going to see? You know, so it was very, very cool. So, okay, numero duo.
Well, you know, great minds think alike, just in a slightly different order. Last Night Gus, season 6, episode 2. I loved that episode.
Oh my god, it was so good.
I mean, it was just a perfect mix of all the different characters. I mean, there's that great scene where they're in the coroner's office. You know, they've just woken up. They've gone down there. There's a dead body. They don't know how. You know, they're not sure who did what. Woody's, you know, they're determining they need to do a drug test because they have no recollection of the night before. And it's honestly the first time you've really seen Sean Spencer's character freak out about himself, because he actually has a short little monologue where he's like, how does it feel when you wake up and you lose your sight? Now, he knows he's not a psychic, but you honestly, in that moment, that's a credit to James Roday Rodriguez and his acting skills, in that moment I felt a little bad for him, because he was just like, I don't know, and I can't figure this out, you know. And then, you know, just also knowing the character so well, you know, how in the world is Carlton Lassiter going to work with Woody, let alone Spencer? I mean, you know. And then when Henry entered the mix, I was laughing so hard. I was like, "Oh my gosh, this could get worse. This is like the team you never want to get together."
Right.
You know, it's super not best friends. It's just like it's, you know, some of these people barely tolerate each other, and they have such different personalities. But you know, in true Psych fashion, it was fun. It was funny. Yeah, you know, poor Gus and his love life. We're not even going to go there, but
poor Gus.
But it was really a testament to all these different actors, because they did a great job just just running with it and having a lot of fun, and it shows.
And I think, that's what I was going to say. I think it really showed in that episode. They did have fun, and I remember at one point they go to the bar, and they're and then another part when they're in the coroner's office, isn't there like a phone that one of them finds?
So it was the dead guy's phone,
yes, okay.
And it had all the pictures on it, and it was evidence. And so Lassiter's, I mean, it's a classic case. I mean, it almost looked like an old 80s cop show because they're all messing with the evidence. It's like, you cannot be touching this. And even Lassiter's like, we're going to do this by the book. And then he's like, oh my God, I've got 2 bullets missing. How are we going to do this by the book? I might have killed someone. It's just great.
Yeah, it's a great episode. Good choice.
Thank you. I'm anxious to see if your number 2 lines up with my number 1.
Well, my number 2 is from very early in the series. It actually comes in season 1 of the series.
Okay, we're getting a little close now.
It was written by Steve Franks and James Roday.
Okay.
And it was directed by John Landis.
Really? Okay.
Season 1, episode 15. Scary Sherry, Bianca's Toast.
Great episode.
Wasn't
Great choice. Yes.
I felt like if they had like another 15 minutes, you could have turned that into a movie. And when I went back, and I didn't know that John Landis directed it.
I didn't know that either.
But when I went back and saw that, then I'm like, oh, that makes so much sense. It made so much. So it's a great episode. Starts off in 1987. And I loved, and we haven't talked about that yet, but I loved how they jumped back and forth.
All the flashbacks.
Young Sean and young Gus and, the dad with hair.
I do think we should probably talk about child abuse, because some of the stuff that Henry did with his son I don't think would fly then or now.
And talk about great casting when they brought in Sybil Shepherd as his mom.
Well, Steve Franks is a huge fan of Moonlighting. In fact, he cited that as an inspiration in Psych. So yes,
the way that they did Sean and Juliet too was it was very Moonlighting. But anyway, so 1987, Sean and Gus witness a woman jumping out of a mental institution. So they go to the present, and there's another girl being chased, and she comes out the same one. And so the Detective O'Hare, Juliet, the aforementioned love interest, has to go undercover in the girls' sorority, and Gus and Sean are asked to help. And so there's a whole thing there where is it a ghost? What's going on? And after several of the sorority girls, one by one they start talking about, maybe I did it, or maybe I did it, or and again, no spoilers. I'm going to go give you there. It gets to the end where that's
you're like, wow.
Remember the scene on the roof with Juliet? I was like, wow. And then later on, when she's kidnapped and caught up, I remember it going, and I was thinking, wow, that's kind of like, I wonder if they were setting that up to make you remember later on.
Right.
That was great.
It would not surprise me, because it seems all of their stuff in this entire series has been well thought out.
Oh, I agree. It must be like a huge
story arc.
Oh my God. So, Bianca's Toast is a reference to Bianca's death by Toaster in her bathtub, but it's also a reference to, it's kind of like a play on words with sherry being a drink, and it's like some name of Ford. I'll probably cut this part out because that sucks. According to Psych's Up All Night, again, this is actually Maggie Lawson's favorite episode.
Really?
And I could also see that, because she got to have a lot of fun kind of playing a sorority girl. Yeah. And it's the first time Sean utters, I've heard it both ways.
Now, what I'm going to need from you is an article of clothing, preferably an undergarment.
Don't you usually get that from the victim?
I've seen it both ways.
May I call you Gibby?
My first name is Randolph.
I've heard it both ways.
Gus, please. Don't be Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Marzipan. Azkaban. I've heard it both ways.
Sean, you are a cadaver. We have to cover you because cadavers don't wear shirts from Abercrombie and Fletch. It's Abercrombie and Fitch. I know you haven't heard it both ways.
That's one of my favorite. I actually say that at work sometimes, and I think it drives people crazy.
And pineapple alert when Sean holds up a pineapple and asks Alice, would you like to split it? And I loved it so much I had to take a picture of it. You can see it on my notes here.
That's awesome.
Yeah, if you want to split it.
That is awesome.
All
good
right.
choice. Good choice.
Thank you. I really enjoy. And isn't that like kind of puts a whole nother nugget now that you know John Landis did it?
Yeah.
You know?
Well, and that whole episode wasn't as funny as some of the other Psychs. There was an uncomfortable undercurrent, but there was actually a good lesson in it that, you know, make sure you know the whole facts of any situation, because that's how rumors get started.
Exactly.
So I thought that was great.
Rumors getting started. Oh, sorry. I won't sing that. You're welcome for me not singing. Okay, so it brings us to the moment of truth.
Yep.
You have a number one.
I do have a number one.
Should we do a rewind?
I have a number one. Huh?
Should we do a rewind?
Yeah, we can do a rewind real quick. You want to do that?
Yeah.
Okay. T-Jen, give us your other ones.
Okay, so number 5, lights, camera, homicidio. Again, I really feel like I'm butchering the Spanish there, and I'm really not trying to, but...
Maybe we'll ask Mr. Tone to say it. We'll just put it in right here.
Season 2, episode 13. If you love overacting, I mean, seriously, I think he out-Shatnered William Shatner.
What?
I'm just going to say it.
Are you saying, T-Jen?
Yeah. Number 4, we'd like to thank the Academy. Season 5, episode 13, the arrival of the Karate Kid to the Psych set. And there's some great lines in there where they actually answer him on the walkie. Yes, sensei. So they knew what they were doing, you know. Number 3, gotta love the horror movies, A Nightmare on State Street. Season 8, episode 9, with Cobra Kai's very own Johnny William Zabka showing up.
Thread here.
Yeah, I did just binge watch that on Netflix. Maybe our next top 5 will be Cobra Kai. Number 2, Last Night Gus, season 6, episode 2 for me. Gotta love that episode. There's just too many good things to even...
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, too
I'm
many.
So with you. It makes me want a donut right now. And so my number 5, Last Night Gus, season 6, episode 2. Number 4, Tuesday the 17th.
Good
season
choice.
3, 15, another match. Number 3 is 100 Clues, season 7, episode 5. And number 2, Scary Sherry, Bianca's Toast, season 1, episode 15.
Very, very, very
All
good
right.
list.
So we're down. Now it's time to show them your cards.
Numero uno.
Numero uno. I like that. You said that very well.
Thank you.
She's played a lot of Uno.
And she's won a lot of Uno.
Won a lot of Uno. Isn't that right, Cody?
And
Isn't that right,
Super
Gus? Never has a little girl make grown men cry so much.
My number 1 is season 1. Episode 2.
Wow.
Spelling Bee.
Going back.
Okay, so I've got to explain this pick, okay? First of all, the pilot episode was really great with one exception. Lassiter, his partner, was played by Ann Dudek, which a lot of us will know her from House. She was one of the doctors on it. It was I didn't like it.
Yeah.
They didn't gel very well. She was just a little meanish. I mean, it kind of reminds me of the Doctor in season 2 of Star Trek: The Next Generation. I didn't like her either.
Pulaski.
Yeah. I didn't like it. So season 2 is when Juliet shows up, and the chemistry of the whole show changed for the better. It was like a puzzle piece. You know, everything came together. And the Spelling Bee one was so funny because honestly, this episode is very much a Burton Guster episode. You know, where you find out about his, chance at Spelling Bee glory and how it was thwarted by Sean, because of course Sean does everything.
Sean does everything, including leave him.
Yeah, repeatedly. And then of course you got a murder. Juliet's involved. You've got the introduction of Gus's super sniffer, although he calls it the super smeller, but I think later it becomes the super sniffer. So it's actually and later they introduced Magic Head. Actually, and I think it was in State Street when he's like, "Don't eat the Magic Head." But that episode I felt set the tenor for the series. It solidified all the characters. It solidified their relationships very well. Juliet being I'll give this a shot. I'm not saying I do believe it. I'm not saying I don't, but can't hurt anything.
Yeah. And he's solving crimes.
And he's solving the
putting
crimes.
people away,
Right.
That's what I loved about it, because it would be really, you're not, he wasn't a vigilante. He wasn't going out and shooting people and doing, he wasn't going out and stopping guys on the subway. He's solving crimes that they can't solve. So you kind of think, and of course I love, the fact that that Lassiter, almost to the end, would never believe it,
Yep.
And he was right, Yeah. So,
well, and then also Henry's character, you get to see a little bit of that with the dog.
No crap. He took no crap.
But you got to see all these characters, and it was really a foreshadowing for the whole series.
Mm-hmm.
And I loved the episode. I loved they got Bud Collins to be on the show as an announcer. If you're a sports fan, you know who he is.
Uh-huh.
He's done quite a few things.
So that means I don't know who he is.
I know I know because I am a sports fan, so I was just letting
American
it go.
Football.
He doesn't do football. He does like the Olympics and stuff like that.
Bellmaster. Elvin Cavanaugh is a secretive guy. And yet, he has called for a press conference after this round.
But it was a really, really good episode, and it was almost like a guess what you have to look forward to.
Yeah.
And I just really enjoyed it, and I enjoyed it was a Gus-centric episode. I enjoyed how Juliet was going to play and everything. And this episode is what made me watch the whole series. Because as much as I enjoyed the pilot, I was still watching The Mentalist. So and that was a more serious version. So, how do you switch over to something that's very much tongue-in-cheek? But in this episode, I watched it and I was like, oh yeah, I'm hooked.
Yeah. Oh, that's a great pull.
That's my number one.
Deep pull. Wow. So before I unveil my number one, I have to say, I am amazed that we did not, between the two of us, choose either the Yin Yang Killers or Devalier, the Carrie Ewell's character.
Yes.
Those, 3 and 4 episodes each, at least. And they were all great episodes. Why do you think neither of us chose that?
They were great episodes, but they were also... There was a long arc involved. There was a lot of episodes that set those up.
Right.
You know what a huge RoboCop fan I am. So Peter Weller showing up.
Yeah.
When that episode happened, I was on the edge of my couch like, yay! Oh my God, it's Peter Weller. Just because of all the things that he's done, Buckaroo Banzai and everything. Yeah. But at the same time, RoboCop is by far the best. But it's one of those things that. In this situation, I feel like there was a lot of foreshadowing into that. You can't pick one yin yang episode.
Right.
There was 5 episodes in 2 seasons before that probably foreshadowed some of the things.
Yeah.
So that's honestly why I didn't pick it, because almost unlike some of these other episodes that are more standalone-ish. Like, I didn't even pick the episodes where Carlton Lassiter falls in love, and that's a great episode where he meets Marlo and then eventually marries her, and then even in the movies they have a child together and everything. These are all wonderful things, but these are long arcing type things. So that's why I personally didn't choose it.
See, I could not agree with you more. When I sat back, because I had the episode where, I guess it was the last Ying episode where Peter Weller's in it and they go into the house and all that stuff. I had that on my short list. But I really sat back and say, this is a great episode, but it's not necessarily a favorite because there's so much else that when you think about it, you do think about the whole story,
Right. There's
so
a lot. There's a lot involved leading up to that.
Right. I'm with you. So, so I guess saying that kind of makes me think how unique my number one is as much as yours was, because you loved your episode so much because it was a very Gus-centric. Mm-hmm. So my number one episode is a very Lassiter-centric episode.
I know which one you're going for, I think. Go ahead.
Season 6, episode 11. Here's Lassie!
Good choice.
Oh my God, I loved this episode.
Good choice.
Thank you.
Yeah, I thought you were going to do Lassie Did a Bad Thing, because that's another good one.
Yeah. I just love this episode because even though, now, of course, I'm a huge horror fan. You know I'm a huge horror fan. You know I'm a huge fan. And I love The Stand. I'm sorry, not The Stand.
The Shining.
The Shining. Thank you.
To say.
I know, right? And this had so much Shining. It was dripping with Shining. It's not a huge favorite movie of mine. But to take the characters the way they did and put them into that environment and have all of the spooky stuff going on and having everything going, I just absolutely love this. Obviously, it's my favorite
It's your number
episode.
one, yeah.
It's my number one. It also pulls from Rosemary's Baby.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because you've got that whole thing where it's just something that's really going on. If it's something, you know, they got the baby and the neighbors are actually named the Pharaohs after Mia Farrow. And the wife's first name is Rosemarie, which I thought was interesting because she played.
Right.
Yeah. So, did you notice the address of the building?
No.
The
And I
address of the
should
building?
have, because...
It was 1101, which is binary code for 13.
Oh, okay, yeah, I would have never picked that up, but that's pretty cool.
So the twins, Bertie and Bernice Turkle, Joe Turkle was the guy who played Lloyd, the bartender, in The Shining. I got a lot of these because I really like this one because there were so many cool things to it. I won't say every one of them, but I'll say most of them. The mask that Lloyd wears when he scares Sean and Gus is the same mask that Uncle Jack gave Sean in The Greatest Adventures in the History of Basic Cable. Isn't that the guy when the guy comes from Uncle Jack? He from Winger.
Yeah.
And he plays in the NBC remake of The Shining. Weber.
Oh, yeah. Steven Weber.
Steven Weber, yeah. But my favorite thing about this episode, or the thing I guess I should say that really connects me to it, is the fact that the 4-barrel handgun that Lassiter uses is called a Cop 357. It's a 4-shot, like a Derringer, and they're in that square configuration. And you have to pull the whatnot. That's actually called a cop gun, which stood for compact off-duty. And my grandfather had that exact same gun.
Really?
Yes, he did. And it would take 357 and it would take 38.
Wow.
Yeah, and it is super compact and it breaks like an old shotgun does.
Okay.
And you put 4 more into it and stuff. So I was like, man, I've seen that. I've held that gun, you know.
That is awesome.
So it was really fun. So pineapple alert. Lily, you remember where the pineapples are on this one?
No.
Okay, Lassiter gets a welcome basket, and there's a sliced ham in it, and there's pineapples on it there. Yeah, I thought that was pretty cool.
It's like a worse Hawaiian pizza.
Yeah. Pineapples do not belong on pizza. That's so wrong. So did you like this episode?
Oh, yeah. I really enjoyed it, you know. I like any episode where the secondary characters get their due.
Yes.
I mean, in this series, you've had episodes like that for Lassiter. You've had it for Chief Witt when her sister came, the Coast Guard Commandant. That almost made my top 5. That was a great one.
That was Jane from
Glee.
Lynch.
Everyone, from Glee.
Yes,
you know,
yes.
Great actress.
Yeah. Perfect casting.
Oh, it was brilliant.
Is that the gym teacher?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Look at me.
Pulling one from the deep.
Yeah. So every character got their due, and that's amazing.
Even Henry had some good episodes.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. That was awesome. This is just, I mean, it's an awesome show. And so I think anybody, I mean, obviously, Lily, we were watching it. We didn't get to see this until a few years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so you were 10 maybe, and she got lots of stuff out of it. I mean, a lot of times she would pick. So it's a but at the same time it does have those deep layers that you can watch if you're a mystery fan. You just have to take the humor in with it because it's right there on top. I mean, so many good episodes. Wow. So this was fun.
This was fun. Thank you for having me again.
Oh, you're welcome. I so enjoyed it. Thank y'all for bringing my wife some inebriating watermelon salsa stuff. liquid juices.
That got weird.
So is there anything else you'd like to throw out here before we wrap up?
No, I would just say if anybody is listening to this who has not seen Psych, go watch it.
Yes.
It is truly binge-worthy. What else are you going to do? We're supposed to stay inside. So, or, go on your patio, put up a little screen, do a little projection TV. Hey, but have some fun with it because, there's not many series out there that is that fun, engaging, and also pretty doggone smart.
Yeah, it is very smart. It really is. And there's we didn't even talk about this car, the blueberry.
Yeah, the blueberry.
Oh my God. If you watch, and with a lot of well-written shows are like this, but if you watch it from beginning to end, there's so many things for you to pick up on and to go over and over again. I think it's playing on Netflix. Is that where? Or
I'm
no, it's
watching
Amazon.
it on Prime. Yeah, I'm watching it on Prime.
Yeah, it's on Amazon.
I've literally watched the series from beginning to end 4 times.
Yeah.
Wow.
And then I'll pick out certain episodes. It's great for, if you want to, just pick an episode here or there. You can avoid the ones that talk about the Yang killings and stuff like that. But there's too many great episodes that just make you laugh and smile.
Definitely. And I have to say, though, I know you're a big fan, but this was actually an episode that Lily and I were going to do. And so Lily and I talked about doing it, and she was kind of gung-ho. And then then The Office came along. And then Community came along.
And then Criminal Minds came along.
And I happened to mention it to Jennifer. Hey, I know that you kind of like it. And I loved your response. Your response was this like, if Lily doesn't want to do it, I wouldn't mind helping you out.
Okay, in all fairness to the people who can't see this, so I'm sure you could infer from the voice inflection, but he actually did a very good imitation of what I did. He jumped up in his seat, made his fists into a ball, and curled them up, putting his shoulders up high.
I remember.
And that is actually very accurate.
This was meant to be.
It was
meant to be. She always puts your feelings first. She wasn't going to do it if So this was the perfect way to do it. To have our little colorful commentary over there. So what's going on in your life? What should people know about you, Lily? I hear you had a casting this week, huh?
Yeah. I had a little CYT class, and we're doing a little mini musical.
Cool.
And our musical is Hercules, and I got cast as Hades.
Hey!
So that was fun.
Yeah. The Lord of the Underworld.
Yeah. And I am binge watching Criminal Minds.
Nice. That's a good series.
And right in the beginning, when we started talking about it, it clicked in my mind. He's basically just like profiling these people.
Yes.
But not saying all his thoughts.
Right.
Because and Criminal Minds, they always pick out like the little things. Like if they left the body, if they would leave the body near their house, or if they would leave it further away, and what color hair they might have, or how old they are. Like I don't know how that works. I don't know how you can tell that from what size knife they used.
Yeah.
But they do that, and I know Sean probably would do that if they showed that. He would look at how deep the knife cuts were or something.
Yeah, he looks more like at actual physical things.
Like the evidence and stuff.
And
in Criminal Minds, they look at more like what it means.
Yeah, they look at the evidence and then they build that profile of what, from what they know, the mindset of that person is. Mm-hmm. You're right. Boy, could you imagine if Sean went on
Criminal Minds.
That
would be the weirdest episode ever.
It'd be 15 minutes and they'd be done. They'd know who it was right away, Oh, that's true. All right, well, cool. Well, I want to thank both of y'all very much for being on the show. Oh, you're welcome.
You.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And thank you.
And thank you.
And thank you.
And thank you.
Thank you.
And I'd also like to thank you out there in the podcast universe for joining us for this episode of Fave Five From Fans. We love putting out this show, as you can tell, and we'll continue to release episodes every Friday as long as there's not another damn hurricane. You can find us.
It's South Louisiana, Jamie.
Right? I mean, we have 2020. We have them one after another. 2 days, not even a full 2 days respite between Marco and Laura. Anyway, God bless the people in Lake Charles and that area. Anyway, You can find us on our shiny new website, Fave5FromFans.com. It's good for your iPhone. It's good for your iPad. It's good for your iLaptop.
A computer?
What about your iAndroid?
Your iAndroid works there too.
What about like a
Yeah, you can
computer?
do it on an iComputer too.
Cool, because I've heard it both ways.
You can also subscribe to us at Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, TuneIn, Podbean, and as of this week, or last week actually, iHeartRadio.
Wow.
Yes, I'll be signing autographs later.
Clap, 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 clap.
I think next week I might be up to 8 listeners.
Snap.
I don't know. Could happen. We'll have to see. You can also find us at our Facebook page, Fave Five From Fans, and on the gram, as the kids say.
They don't say.
Yes, they do.
They don't say. If anything, they say Insta.
Hush, T-Jen. We would also love it if you interact with us on Twitter at Fave 5 From Fans. Is that okay?
Yeah, sure.
Uh-huh. All right. We here at Fave 5 From Fans are excited to be part of the Slightly Irregular Podcast Network. You can find us at sipnet.us on Instagram.
Thank you.
The SIP Network is a varied group of podcasters like The Terrible Terror Podcast, The Podcast from Another World, Dead Hand Radio, The Paranormal Activity Podcast, Angry Dad Podcast, Back in Time Podcast. Ooh, that was a trio. From the Wastes. And us, Fave 5 From Fans. And remember, folks, it may not be the best, it may not be the most popular, but if it's your favorite, then it's good enough for us. Ladies, say goodnight.
Good night.
Good morning.
Such a brat. This is Hulk Boy from Hollywood, signing off.
Todos saben que no digo la verdad. Todos saben que no tengo una prueba. Si es un engaño, confórmate. Tus inhibiciones al final no podrás resolver.
Between the lines, there's a lot of obscurity. I'm not inclined to resign to maturity. If it's alright, then you're wrong. Why dance around to the same damn song? You'd rather run when you can crawl. I know that you know that I'm not telling the truth. I know that you know that they don't have any proof. Embrace the deception and learn how to bend your worst inhibitions, then to strike you out in the end.